Hey, welcome to Blender and a quick video on a walk cycle. So you can see here I've got a humanoid figure that seems to be walking on a hard flat surface that's going to act as the floor here. And you can see that this figure has an armature set up inside of it, and that is what I'm controlling. That's what I'm setting keyframes on in order to generate this walk cycle. I'm just going to pause that and click on one of the bones in my armature. You can see I'm in pose mode, which is how you're going to be setting up this animation. And what you're going to need to do is get to your starting frame and decide how you want this character to start moving. If this is going to be a set of keyframes that you copy and paste over and over, or save as an action and reuse, then maybe you want this to be mid-stride. If it's going to be a short animation and your character is only going to move a few steps, maybe you want to start, as I did, with a keyframe just standing still. It depends on what your needs are. But for this project here, we're just going to start standing still and move forward and then stop again. However, you could easily start mid-stride if you wanted to, as long as you stop on that same mid-stride. And then you'll have something that you could copy and paste and repeat indefinitely. So the way you're going to do this is set up your first starting position, whatever that may be. I'm going to go to the side view here, select all of the bones in your armature, and press I to establish a keyframe for those bones. Then move to the halfway position between where you're starting and where you're going to end up here. So in my case, I want one leg forward and the other leg backward. I'm going to use this leg closest to us and move that to about there. With that leg all the way back. In that first step, I want to make sure that both feet are still touching the ground. We have a solid base. I've adjusted the height of the hip. I've adjusted the swing of the arms, the lean of the body, everything that you would need to do to kind of be in the right position to take that step. And then I've set a keyframe. And then what you want to do is move forward in your timeline to the exact opposite. So you are swapping your legs. You can get the back one and the front one as much as possible on the ground, and at the same time in their proper positions. Swing your arms, adjust your body and hip height and all of that, and set a new keyframe. And what you will then have is a swap between your front and back legs. So you've basically taken one single step. Then repeat that process. Move your playhead down the timeline and set a new keyframe for the exact opposite position. So if I started with that closest leg front, I'm going to move there. And so there's our furthest leg front now. And I'm going to set a new keyframe for this whole new position. So I'm keyframing all the bones at the same time. And then you can go through and you can tweak it a little bit. So you'll notice my animation does not have just two keyframes here. And that is because if you watch this character move, so we stretch out, and as we stretch out, this leg is not straight anymore. It's picking up a bend. So this bone is going to rotate. The hip bone is going to rotate a little bit, so you can see individual keyframes being set up for different bones at different locations and different times. And you're going to add extra little tweaks here and there to make sure that everything is in the proper position, that you're never floating above the floor. Your feet are never dragging through the floor as they swing down. And so that's going to require you to bend your knees and bend your ankles and adjust the height of your hip. The body will bob up and down as it's walking. And that's what we're going for. We're trying to keep in mind realism here, and how many different parts of your body have to move and adjust in order for you to be able to take a step like that and not just trip and fall. And so we don't want our characters to look like they're doing something that's physically impossible. We don't want it looking like they should trip and fall either. So you're going to need to go through and make a bunch of smaller adjustments to get everything just right. Now, for right now, this is just what a walking animation would look like from the side. If we look from the front, my animation is still very, very stiff. nothing here is moving side to side, and generally there would be a body shift of some variety as you're shifting weight from side to side. So there should be more movement here. Movement here is going to cause the arms to move as well, to adjust for the body moving, which would then require the head and neck to possibly move as well, to stay straight and level as your body's moving around under it. You may find that the hips are shifting a little bit as you're moving, and if your hips are shifting, then your legs would need to shift to stay under them. These are all features that you can add in slowly, one by one, over time, until you get something that looks like a repeatable walk cycle. And then you could easily, if nothing else, you could easily just grab the frames that are part of that cycle and shift D and duplicate them and move them down and do it over and over, and you'll have a cycle that can repeat indefinitely. So that's all there is to putting a basic walk cycle together, and you can put a lot more into it, but those are the basics.